the first talks today were the talks about the talks were more offensive security, and now I will switch to the defensive part. So we will see how via logs we can extract useful information from your systems, and so I will start with a more theoretical presentation, and then I will switch to more research that I perform how to increase value of your logs. So one thing is sure, all your security events are belong to you. So introduction to class. My name is Xavier. X me on Twitter. I suppose some of you are already following me. I'm working as a security consultant for a Belgian company. I have several certifications. I'm also an active security blogger, so I try to give a lot of info. I speak about what's interesting for me, and I try to share as much as possible. And I'm also a volunteer from some security projects, mainly based in Belgium, Europe. So the well-known Eurotrash security podcast. I maintain the website, so every time you visit, you download the MP3s. It's on my systems. And I'm also an active volunteer in Brucon, so the Belgium Security Conference, where I'm responsible of all the technical stuff, so the networks, the infrastructure during the conference, and all the websites and all the infrastructure. Some disclaimer, so it's also a classical slide, so I try always to split my business and my personal stuff, so this presentation has nothing related to my job. In my job, I'm also involved in a lot of log management SIEM projects, but let's split everything. I'm here for personal purposes. What's the situation today in most organizations? Is this. So you have a lot of people which are responsible of checking what's happening on the system, and it's really boring. So it's really a nice picture. Why? Because if we try to check what's your log through inside your organization, your companies, first, in most of them, the bad reaction will be logs. Which logs? What are logs? What do I have to take care of my logs? It's really boring because nobody is happy to process your logs, and often you are forced to process your logs because you come under some compliance requirements, so you are forced to put money, to put time, but it's really boring because it's so huge to process them. And of course, most organizations, as they do not take care of their logs, they are really not prepared to face security incidents. If you don't have logs, you will not be able to investigate what happened on your platform, so you are in a bad situation. And of course, Murphy's, our best friend, is already there. If you never face a security incident today, it will come in the future, in the near future for sure. Be careful. And finally, do you have enough internal resources inside the organization? Because it costs a lot of resources. We will see that later in terms of people, in terms of money, but you need to assign some resources to this project. First, regarding the logs, what's very important is you need visibility. So everybody can read logs, but if you cannot extract the right information at the right moment, it's senseless. Hopefully, everybody here use computers, and we can also use computers to manage logs, because a computer is a small definition that I copy-paste on the internet. So via computers, so computers generate logs, but the same computers can also be used to process them and to extract the right information. It's very, very cool. To increase visibility, we will see later that we can also integrate them with multiple sources of information coming from other systems, from third-party systems. And we will have more chance to detect suspicious events. And finally, the goal of the log management is certainly to detect activity below the radar. Because as we saw in the previous presentation, you will maybe have program running on the system, disabling some firewall, disabling some security stuff, but such event will be hidden in the global flow of your platform. So the goal is to really put the right point on the right event, say, okay, this one is suspicious, I need to take some action. But we have a lot of issues to manage the log. There are three types of issue. The first one, a technical issue. It's easy to understand. All your networks are more and more complex today because you integrate a lot of appliance, operating system, applications. So you have maybe mainframe, Windows, Unix system. You have routers, firewall, web application firewalls, a lot of nice appliance, and all of them generate logs. And in different ways. So they can use some different applications. They can use API. They can use some protocols. Some protocols are open, like syslog, SNMP. Other protocols are completely closed, like let's say OPSEC for checkpoint firewalls. And they generate a lot of events per day. Millions, thousands, millions, maybe billions of events for very huge organization. And also some logs can be also outsourced, because you delegate some management to a partner. You maybe have some application in the cloud, maybe, I don't know. But also those applications generate logs. You need, and you have to reclaim your access to the log, because you need to have them in your log management solutions. And also all the networks components, they all come with their own net console and tool management. So when you need to investigate something, it's impossible to log in on the console from the checkpoint firewall. Then you have to switch to your Juniper, you have to switch to your system, your Linux syslog and so on. So it's time consuming, and of course you increase the risk to not see the right event. Just to give you a practical example, the classic game for children, find the difference between these two logs. The first one is coming from macOS 10, so based on IP. A packet filter, so it's built-in firewall. The second one is coming from an old X device. As you can see, they give a lot of information. You have timestamps, you have source IP addresses, ports, protocol, blah blah blah. But it's not displayed in the same format. So if you need to read this information, it's impossible. So the computer will be helpful, because we will decode all this information, and we will be able to extract the right information. The next type of issue are economic issue. Everybody agree, even more managers, time is money. So it's impossible to put 10, 20 people in front of screens 20 hours a day to just watch log, because it costs a lot of money, and also it's very boring. We need to perform real-time operations, because if you have a security incident, you cannot say, okay, let's stop the device for 12 hours to have time to investigate, because the business the show must go on, the business must go on. And also, such downtime have a very huge financial impact. If you maintain an e-commerce platform, your website is down for 12 hours, well, the manager will become crazy. Okay, it seems maybe better, no, but it's still a crisis. So all companies try to reduce the budget staffing, and happy shareholders are always better for a company, because the goal of a company is to make business. And finally, you have to see log management as an insurance. So it's basically a low risk management. And some managers, they don't agree to invest into log management, because like an insurance, we maybe you pay your car insurance, your home insurance every month, but you will never use it. You may say, okay, it's money lost. But if in 2 weeks you have a big incident in your house, fire, water, I don't know, it will be very helpful. It's the same for your logs. You will pay, but you don't. The management will not see immediately a return on investment until you have something to investigate. And finally, the boring issues, legal issue. You have maybe to deploy log management for different reasons. First, compliance requirements. Compliance may be a big name like SOX, IPA, PCI, DSS, and so on, all kind of nice stuff. But it can also be initiated by the group of the business. If you maintain your whole small company based in London, and your company is overbought by a big international company, maybe they will come to you and say, okay, from now you will have to manage your logs, you will have to send me reports, you will have to send me such information every month, every year, every week, every day. So we have to prove something, so you will have to deploy log management solution. Local laws, so every country has its own laws, you have to follow them. You are in Belgium, you follow the Belgian laws. You are in UK, you follow the UK laws. And well known for CSSP and all the other security certification, you have to apply due diligence and due care. Regarding the legal requirements, Very important. This slide is really related to the Belgian law because I spoke to the Belgian guys, the FCCU, Federal Computer Crime Unit, regarding the law, because my question was to those guys, okay, I maintain my logs, but in my logs I have a lot of personal information. I have timestamps, users, IP address, login, so how can I manage from a legal point of view my logs? We have two big sides. The first one, the internal side, you cannot play as Big Brother. So if you maintain your log management solution inside the organization, you cannot use it to track the users. So it means, okay, I know that this guy is not doing his job every day. I will check my log every morning to try to detect if he visited Facebook, if he went to Twitter. No, you cannot do that. But your team members must be aware that the procedure exists and that they are tracked and recorded. Because if you find something, if you are suspicious and you find just by reviewing the logs, you find, oh, why this guy went to playboy.com? I know if it's outside your secret policy, you can take an action. So it's some gray zone, but it's important. The team members must be aware of this. From an external point of view, if you have a website and you allow users to create a login because they need to buy some product, they need to write some posts or to generate some content, you have to notify them, users and visitors, which information is logged, how and for which purposes. It's a legal point of view, very important. Now, another example in Belgium, but it's really it explains really what's happening for much companies. In Belgium, we have the CBFA, which means in French, Commission Bancaire, Finance et Assurance. So it's a financial, banking, and insurance commission. And in April 2009, they released a document which says any institution that connects to the internet data must have a security policy which takes into account the creation, archiving, event logs, which permit the analyze, follow-up, and reporting. And the big terms are in red. Well, we don't see exactly different, but those terms are in red. Because they really express the challenge at what we have to do to maintain our logs. So the challenges. The first one is the creation and archiving of log files. We have to analyze, and the biggest challenge is the normalization. A few slides ago, you saw two different events coming from a macOS and a Pix. The goal of normalization is to analyze the events and to extract all the information, timestamps, IP addresses, and all information that can be reused later for the processing of the logs. The follow-up. So follow-up, that means that we have information in the database, we have to use it to generate more detail, more information, reporting, and correlation is the latest step, so the state of the art in log management will start later. So that's really the biggest challenge. And we can put those challenges in sort of a layer approach. So from the bottom to the top, we start with the log collection. So it means that we have to connect via different methods, protocols to the device via push-pull methodology and create the events. We have to normalize them, store them, and then we can perform three types of operations. The search, it's like Google, so you are looking for something, an IP address, a username, a time window to try to find some relevant information. The reporting, which can be automated on demand, so you produce more information valuable for the technical teams, for the management, and correlation. And above correlation, we have the final step, which can be the incident management. So if you have all this process in place, you can really start your incident management procedure and really investigate what happened on your platform. About the raw material, the very good news, your logs already belongs to you. So all the logs that you have on your system, they are your logs, so you can process them, you can use them. If they are not stored internally on log platforms, if you outsource, if you use cloud infrastructure, claim access to them. Because if you outsource a website on via a cloud provider, this cloud provider generates also logs, so claim access to the logs via automated system in real time, once a day, once a week, but you must have access to them. all application devices generate events. All of them, every time. Sometimes it's in a good way, in a bad way, but all of them generate events. And finally, if you have developers inside your organization, they must generate events and in a good way. When I say in a good way, it means that usually developers write too much information or not relevant information with strange hexadecimal code and so on. So please, developers, generate good events because we must be able to extract, once again, the right information. Once you have access to all your logs, you can also use third-party sources. Here it became very funny. You can use vulnerabilities database. There are a lot of databases available on the internet for free. Just grab a copy of them, include this database inside your log management system so you can increase the value of your events. If you detect a new vulnerability regarding an Apache, for example, on a Linux server, just give more relevance to events generated by your web server because you can find immediately something relevant. A lot of blacklists are also available on the internet. A lot of companies or organizations maintain blacklists with IP addresses, autonomous systems, domain names, and so on. So you can grab a copy of them, inject them in your system. And also the physical data like geolocalization and batch reader. So it's about this one. The next slide, I would like to focus a little on security conversions, which is in fact a mix of logical controls. A logical control is a password, an access list, so restriction on IP address, autonomous systems and domains, and a physical control like batch readers or geolocalization. I will give you two examples. Let's imagine that I'm swiping my badge at the door of building A in the morning, and a few minutes later, my login is used to open a session on a workstation in building B. For me, it's a security incident. Maybe I lost my badge, so somebody finds it on the street and use it. Or maybe I share my credential with another people inside the company, so it's something irrelevant. Regarding geolocalization, if you read IP addresses and host names of the fully qualified domain names, it's quite difficult to immediately see if the request is coming from an IP address in India, China, Romania, UK, Belgium, France, we don't know. But if we match with geolocalization, if I maintain a website based on Belgian market and I'm selling Belgian goods, why do I have people trying to buy things from Deutschland, for example, or from Holland or from France? It's irrelevant. So you can also increase the value of your events. So that's the security convergence. So now a few recites. So how can we start to collect some logs? So the first technical part, the first part about the theory is done. So let's review how to collect and how to process the different steps. So the collection, we can use push or pull methods. There are a lot of protocols available. Some are open, other are proprietary protocols. What's very important in the collection process is also to ensure integrity. Because, example, the syslog protocols rely on UDP. So when you have a Cisco switch sending a syslog message to a syslog concentrator, it just sends a UDP packet. It will never take care if the packet reaches the destination, if the destination correctly processes the packet. So we have to take care about integrity. Once a log has been generated, as soon as possible, we have to collect it and send it in a safe way, so using other protocols to the central system. Very, very important. That's why we also have to collect the event as close as the source. So a log management solution is often based on distributed systems. We have a lot of agents, collectors, connector, whatever the name, the different implementation used, but we collect as close as possible from the source. And once it has been collected, we are sure that it will reach the internal system. We can use some rate limit to avoid bandwidth overload. We can also implement some tracking system. We can implement some Earth-based system. So if the connector detects that the central system is down, it will queue all the events, dequeue them later. So integrity is really, really important. The next step is the normalization. So we have to, once again, to parse the events. And the goal is to fill in common fields. So by common fields, we need fields that we can reuse later in search or in reports, like timestamp, source IP address, destination IP address, a username, a device type, a port, an arrow. HTTP error are quite interesting, 404, 302, 200, and so on and so on. So the parsing is really important. And what's really important with the normalization, later, if we are looking for a user, for example, by giving the user, we'll be able to get all the events coming from firewalls, FTP server, SSH server, all kinds of devices. And you don't have to, the people performing the incident management don't have to have knowledge about the source devices. Whatever, it's a firewall, it's a switch, it's a server, they just grab events to perform their job. Really important. About the storage now, so we collect it, we normalize, we need to store somewhere in the platform, so we will create a big database with also big index, because for performance we need to index as much as possible the most important fields. We need an archiving system, because we can sorry. Oops. Airport off. It's back? Yes. So we need to store all the events on central place for immediate processing, but we need also to store them in an archiving system for long-term retention. Here, long-term retention, what does it mean? If you fall into some compliance requirement like PCI, you have PCI something like 90 days, maybe, I'm not sure, I'm not an expert in PCI, but you have to take all your events for a specific amount of time, so archiving is important. And once again, integrity is really important. If a system admin has access to your archive file, it will be able to modify some event, so it's completely irrelevant. So you need to maintain integrity by performing hashes on using SHA1, MD5 on your archive or the system, but you need to ensure integrity. We have now the system, so we can perform the first action, a search action. A lot of people are still using command line tools, like the well-known grep, awk, sort, tail. So it remains today the most used tools, but there are a lot of other solutions available. Everybody knows Google, so you can deploy systems which act like Google. So you just search regular expression, you just look for specific information, and you receive everything you can find by clicking on terms. So it's really, really easy. The search feature is very interesting for investigation and forensics operations, and what's really important here is we are looking for also for smoke signals. So we don't know exactly what happened, but we have some suspicion. We know that suspicious activities happened last night, so we start with a time window between 2 a.m. and 4 a.m. Then we restrict to this IP addresses coming from UK, and we refine the search. So we are really looking for smoke signals. The next one, it's reporting, can be automated, on demand, very important, reliable only if the first step is correctly processed. So when you deploy the solution, reporting is the next step. First, to be sure that all the events are correctly processed and are in your system. Otherwise, you will lose information and the result will be null. Like in pen testing, the reports must address their audience. So it means that you will have technical reports, top 10 denied IP addresses, top 10 username, we will change your password, top 10, I know, top 20, whatever. But you can also have business reports addressed to the managers. For example, okay, last week the downtime for the system was 99.99 and so on, so very, very business oriented. And finally, the correlation. A small definition also grabbed from the internet. So a correlation is the generation of new events based on the way other events occurred, based on their logic, time, and recurrence. Example, if you have an access denied, user administrator access denied on server A, it can happen always. Typo errors, I don't know, so it may happen. But if you have an access denied from administrator on server A, a few minutes later on server B, a few minutes later on server C, for me it's a security incident. Somebody is trying all the admin password on different servers, so it's a correlation rule. Again, like the reporting, correlation will be effective only if the other steps are working properly. And correlation is mainly used to, in incident management, because based on correlation, instead of receiving a lot of alerts, you just receive some alerts which indicate you need to investigate those ones immediately. Now, let's dig into the different tools. I don't know if there are vendors of SIEM, so what we call SIEM solutions here, but dear vendors, please don't shoot me, but for me, it's not because you are a big player that you provide the best solutions in log management, for sure. It's like, for me, it's like a Formula One. It's a very nice car, but it's very touchy to drive it.
Okay. Should we ask questions now or after?
As you want. Question?
I did have a question, but I just forgot.
Okay. Why do I have to pay a huge amount of money if I use less than 10% of all the features in the product? For me, it's like the Microsoft Office effect. Everybody use Microsoft, can use Microsoft Word, Microsoft PowerPoint, for example, but everybody use less than 10% of all the features. Very, very important, even if you decide to go for a free software solution, it will have huge costs, because you have to implement it, you will have to deploy it, to support it, to train the people, to maybe find bugs, to write patches, to match the solution exactly to your needs. So you will have always costs. And finally, for me, big players, they give a false sense of security, because they will sell you a box, you deploy the box, a few days of consultancy, next finish, check, dear customer, you have the logs in the box, but it will say nothing. So very a false sense of security. Just regarding the commercial products, there are two lines of products. The first one is a log management line of products which address the lowest layer from the production to the reporting, if you remember my layer approach. And finally, a SIEM, Security Information Event Management. It's always the correlation layer plus the other tools which permits to manage security incidents, like a ticketing system, integration with a third-party ticketing system, and so on. So it's really two different kinds of products. So when you need to decide, okay, let's go for a log management solution, you will have to choose the solution or to deploy the solution depending on those checklists. Do you need compliance or not? Do you need to detect suspicious activity, or just a repository of all the logs to be sure that we have something in place? Do you have to perform web application monitoring? Do you have to perform correlation? What are your supported devices? Because if you go for a free solution, maybe you will have to write yourself some parcel, because if you have a very exotic commercial device, it won't be supported out of the box. And finally, if you decide to buy your SIEM, it's a very, very specific project, because it's a recurrent project. First, to deploy the SIEM, often customers don't have any idea of what happened on their system. So they don't know which amount of logs they have per day, which type of devices. So you have first to make some assessment to be able to size and to design the platform. And then don't forget that you also have to deploy procedures in upfront of the SIEM, because your platform is always changing. So if you do not adapt your log management solution when your infrastructure changes, because you have a new server coming, you have a new internet connectivity, you have a new MPLS network, you need to adapt your configurations to take care of all the logs. But on the other side, at the output, if your system generates alerts but nobody is able to manage them, return on investment is nil. So you will have to deploy huge procedures on both sides. Now let's forget the commercial products and let's switch to the free tools, because it's free. It's so funny. The syslog daemon, so syslog is a well-known protocol and still today well implemented in a lot of appliances and tools. There are a lot of fork implementations, so everybody knows syslog D running on all the classic Unix environment, but even, for example, Ubuntu switched to syslog D for a while. You have syslog NG, which are forks of the syslog, and they had some nice features like multiple sources, so you can jump even from the kernel, from TCP, from UDP flow. They support TLS, they support syslog over TCP, which can be interesting. And they also support plugins, so you can, for example, with syslog, you can immediately store your events into a MySQL database backend, so you have nice of plugins. And also, there are also several tools for the Windows environment, which can also export event windows, event viewer feed to a syslog feed, for example, Snare, which is a commercial product, but it has also a free implementation. Syslog, the biggest issue is it's a hell to parse, because you have normally, regarding the RFC, you must respect a specific number of fields, but a lot of manufacturers or developers, they just send free text into the syslog, so it's a hell to parse. It's really, really boring. A nice tool to start up is SEC, Simple Event Correlation. It's a big Perl script, so it performs correlation of logs based on Perl regular expressions. So to use it, you must be a Perl regular expression guru. Check this one, the pattern. I don't know if it's readable for everybody, but it's not a very complicated one, but you need to have some background in a regular expression. And this tool is very interesting because it can produce new events, it can trigger scripts and write to file if it detects something suspicious. So I just copy-paste this example from documentation. When we just have a single event, it's a regular expression event. If we match this pattern, if you have Cisco device, you know what means this command, sys5 reload, means that the device reloaded. And you can have a description, so warning, it's reload requested for device, blah, 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 and you can action via a pipe, you can mail everything to my email address. So it's quite simple, like the name says, but it's not very easy to implement because you need to play a lot with regular expressions. But it's better than nothing. The next one, my favorite, I really like this project, OSSEC. OSSEC is a host-based IDS. It has a long story, so the name was different. It's now a project inside Trend Micro and so on, but it's very nice tool. What it does, so it's platform log collection and parsing, so out of the box it can parse a lot of different logs. All the classic open source implementation products are recognized. All the SendMail, Postfix, Apache, ProFTP, the other FTP servers, the Cisco switches, some firewalls. It's really easy. It provides an active response mechanism, so it can also trigger scripts. When you detect an event, you can generate something else, send an alert, but you can also, for example, inject a temporary rule in your firewall. If I detect a SSH brute force attack, inject the source IP address in my drop list on my firewall. It has a rootkit detection, very important file integrity checking. These features are made via agents running on all the Unix flavors and Windows systems, and it has also a nice log archiving system. So basically, if you have nothing, you need to start your log management process. Have a look at this one, really nice. What about the protocol? So when I say a few minutes ago that when you collect the events, you send them to a central site, but how do you send them? And there are a lot of different implementations. There is no standard at the moment. Some of them are free, some of them are based on proprietary protocols. Those ones are really common, really well known. So ArcSight developed the common event format. So ArcSight is a big commercial product, but it's free. So you are free to deploy your self-compatible products. CEE from MIC is also a nice one. And you have also help, reliable event logging protocol. Cisco has its own one. So there is no standard protocol at the moment. OSSEC uses also another proprietary, find its own protocol to send information to the server. So it's not very easy. We can also find a lot of interesting information by generating events between OSSEC and other tools like MySQL. We can use IPTable, ULOCD, the Google Maps API, a lot of Perl code. liblognorm is also a nice project. Some people started to develop a library to be injected as a module in syslog server to automatically parse some event received. So it looks that there are a lot of activity on the mailing list, and this library is really alive. And you can also use cloud services, don't be afraid, to parse the event and to make powerful search. So now I will show you some research that I made how to increase the value of some logs using OSSEC. And the first example is USB stick detection. OSSEC comes with a Windows agent, so you can deploy a small agent on all your Windows devices. And the purpose of this exercise was to detect when someone inserts a USB stick into the system. Why? Protection against data leak or security for system enforcement. So you don't permit to install a USB stick, or you must track who inserted a USB stick. What I used, the OSSEC Windows agent and the Windows registry, and in OSSEC, you can define rules based on the registry. So if you check in the registry, in HTML system current OSSEC, a new USB store, every time you connect a new USB stick, it creates new entry with the disk vendor, so the revision, the name of the product, and so on. So we can create an OSSEC rule. It's just an example. So if I need to go deeper how to write OSSEC rule, it's really not the purpose of my talk here, but you create new rules and you will say USB storage detected for any. If I detect a read, so a change in this reg entry, I will pop up an alert, and immediately I will receive in my OSSEC an event which will say, on this device, this IP address, I detected a change with the name of my new USB flash. So it's very, very efficient. The next one, I use a lot of MySQL databases, and my opinion is that MySQL lacks of integrity auditing system. So it means that when you have a table, it's impossible to know when this table has been changed. If you have a database users with a table login, for example, if somebody adds an administrative login, change a password, you cannot be automatically notified. But you can achieve this using OSSEC. How to achieve this? MySQL has triggers, so it's a classic SQL feature. So with a trigger, you can say, okay, if I detect a SQL sentence, this sentence will trigger another one, for example, writing in another database. MySQL also a nice feature called UDF, user-defined function, when we can inject some dynamic code into the MySQL to add new functionalities. And the one that exists is writing to a log file. So with your OSSEC, you create triggers. I will show it on the next screen. You have your MySQL client, and on insert, update, and delete, I have my database table, and I create 3 triggers on insert. Well, it's sorry, copy paste. It's on insert, update, and delete. Every time this trigger is generated, it calls the user-defined function, which writes an error log on the file system, and using my OSSEC, I'm able to access this flat file. Because OSSEC has no way, yes?
Quick question. If you do that and somebody has access to the database, that really in practice can be defeated because they could disable the triggers first, then manipulate the table, then enable them back.
But triggers are defined. Yes, if you are. That's why when you define your database, you need to define the users with the right access on your database.
Yeah, but
so of course. If you have a root access on the database, you can do everything you want. Of course. But in fact, the goal is if I have my application here, if via my application somebody adds a new user, a new admin user, a new admin account, we can detect it. So OSSec has no way to directly attack a MySQL server, so via the user-defined function which writes a flat file, I can manage everything. Temporary tables. Temporary tables are very, very useful in SIEM environment. The purpose is to detect suspicious, for example, users and IP addresses. It's a common feature on commercial products. It's not available on OSSec, that's why I wrote a patch to have this functionality. Basically, you have a table when you put IP addresses and when you put usernames. Those tables can be populated via external sources, so you dump information coming from the internet, via cron and so on. And if you received an event and the IP address which generated this event is also present in a suspicious table, you can increase the value of your event. So if you have, for example, a table of users accessing a web base, in your temporary table you put the user admin. If you see admin accessing this application, you can increase the value of your events. How is it working? So I have public sources on the internet, and via a feeder, I create in MySQL database suspicious IP and suspicious users. I have my event sources, my switch application, servers, and so on, and the OSSec load collectors send everything to the analyzer. This analyzer reads the MySQL database, and if it detects a suspicious IP address or user, it increases the level of the alert. So what was really interesting is we have MySQL and we don't have to populate the tables. We can use whatever we want because we don't have to restart the process. We don't have to work at OSSec level. We just populate MySQL database. Google Maps. Why do I use Google Maps? Just to match on the map where I'm coming from my attacks. If I check those two IP addresses, what's different between them? You have 45, 46, but if you read this, it's impossible for your brain to immediately detect what's the difference. The first one is coming from Netherlands, the second one is coming from Spain. So, ingredients, the Google Maps API, available free for everybody, some Perl scripting, and I use GeoCityLite, the Geo IP address, geolocalization API, and the result is this one. So I received a lot of IP addresses alerts generated by my OSSec. It sends everything via the active response script to my backend, my Google Maps backend, and I have a live map on what's just a demo. But I see if I click on a circle, I have a zoom and can see up to the city where are coming my attacks. So you see maybe why do I have suddenly so much events coming from Russia, from Norway, and so on. OSSec dashboard, because one picture doesn't work, so you have a lot of attacks, a lot of information coming in logs, but it's also impossible to process them manually. MySQL, OSSec I have a MySQL support, so you can write everything into a MySQL database. And using an Apache MySQL, so a LAMP server, I just developed my own OSSec dashboard, and you can have some nice drafts, some reporting live on your web server in one page. So I have a trend level, so based on the right you can select which interval of time you need, and based on this interval you have the trend compared to the previous interval. You have the top 10 alerts, top 10 suspicious. So top 10 suspicious is the alerts which occur only one time during the last interval to be sure that we can detect activity below the radar. Top 10 agents, so what are my machine which generate the most number of events. Some timelines, top 10 locations, also we are geolocalization, and top 10 attackers with the IP address. I click on the IP address, I have a with access to the database so I can see a lot of nice information. About the visibility, you can OSSec is very nice to grab an event to generate alerts, but OSSec writes by default alerts into a flat file or send to an email. It's not very convenient, so you can use, why not the cloud? I'm using Logly. You can use Splunk, Segvis, but here is an example of Logly. So Logly is a cloud, it's an LASS, so it's logging as a services. So you can send all your alerts into the cloud. and Logly will create you a nice graph, and you can also really search your alerts using a nice query engine. Splunk is nice, but it's just between commercial and free products, so I don't like it exactly. Logly is very, very interesting. My conclusions: the raw material is already yours, so you have all the events on your system, so feel free to use it. The amount of data, it's impossible to review it manually because it's so huge today. Suspicious activity occurs below the radar, always. So that those events are really the most important ones. Stick to requirements, because if you start to deploy your solution without exactly knowing what I need to catch, you will be lost because you have so much information, so stick to the requirements. It costs a lot of money and time, even if you choose a free or a commercial solution, and make your logs more valuable via external sources. So you map them on the map, you add extra information coming from external sources. That's all. Just important remarks. All the examples are on my blog with patches. All the scripts are available, all the materials are available on my blog. So feel free to visit it, download it, send me comments. I'm open to questions.
Another quick one.